Hello, everybody, and welcome to our Large Scale Consolidated live show. And what a great show we got waiting for you guys, and glad that everybody's made it here. And we look forward to doing these shows, me and MrPictovid. And so today, on the show, before we get started, I do want to recognize some people that are in the chat. So if I screw your name up, uh, bear with me because somehow or another I always seem to do that. And I'm not good with remembering names once you tell me the correct way to say it. But anyway, we have Paul Torrey, G Scale Trains, Canadian Railroads with us. Sean Fields, Robert Duggan, Stay Loaded. He's always with us.
Yeah, he was here like a week ago.
Yeah, I noticed that. We have Garden Railway. He was with us on the prior show, showing us how to do some weathering. Uh, Darren Warren, Gerald Fruits, uh, why when help me out with that one. The Garden Railway there, Andrew. Winona, Garden,
Winona. I think it's
Winona.
Winona.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I needed help with that one. We have Ken Miller, who's also in charge of the National Garden Railroad this year, right, Andrew?
Ken? Yes.
Yeah. So he's in charge of the NGRC, the National Garden Railway Association, this year, and they are having a show in Tennessee. We'll show you guys their show card here a little later in the show, and show you what that looks like. So make sure you stay tuned, but you have to watch the show to see the 2021 uh, NGRC show card. And then we had Jens Bang, Dunbar, Steve Junkst, Cody Reisinger, Chad Martin, Jonathan the Fish Guy. He was another previous guest. And let's see if I missed anybody here. Joseph Lipinski of the New Hampshire Garden Railway Society. Bill Flowers. I think he's somebody new. I don't remember us seeing Bill Flowers here before. Timothy Kennard. I don't think I've seen him either. And okay, so I think we got everybody covered, right, Andrew?
If we missed anybody, thank you for tuning in. We're sorry. And I'm sure we'll have some other people join us. We're going through. So thank you everybody that is tuned in. And it seems like we got a few more people popping in there too. Wonderful.
Great. Now, before we get started with the show, I do want to mention that MrPictovid Andrew had done a couple of additional things for the show. So he actually started a Facebook group. You want to tell him a little bit more about that, Andrew?
Yeah. I started a Facebook group. It is called Large Scale Trains. And we started it to kind of be the official group, I guess you could say, of our show, and a general G-Scale group as well. It seems like we always have a lot of good conversation going on in the chat and that through the show. And we thought it'd be nice to have a place where, after the show, if people would like to go and, post things about the show, or if they got questions, if they've got ideals or feedback, that type of stuff. And it'll be kind of an evolving thing, but we'd like it to be a general group for G-Scale. If you want to share stuff you're working on, G-Scale, large scale, no HO, no, nothing against Dackman, but no 3 rail O gauge. Not that I have anything against that. There's plenty of groups for 3-rail gauge. We'd like it to just be a place for large scale. I do not have a link to it in the description of the video, but I will add that here shortly. I don't know. Is there anything else I should say about it, Sean?
I think you covered it pretty well. And also, I would like to mention that Andrew, MrPictovid, had also added something extra to the website. Uh, for those who don't know, I was a big, huge USA Trains fan. I was ever since I got into when I first got into G Scale in 2000. I bought a lot of USA Train stuff. So curiosity got the best of me, and there was a lot of trains that USA Trains made that did not make it to catalogs and stuff like that. So I actually collected a whole bunch of information, done a lot of research over the years, and I collected a big, huge library, which I tried to put on Facebook as the USA Trains library. But Andrew was nice enough to add to the Large Scale Consolidated website a section for USA Trains library. You want to talk about that, Andrew?
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, this is something I put a little bit of time into working on. So, everything may not be exactly perfect on this, but of course, like Sean said, he had a website before. Now, I didn't have the original website to go off of. So I did the best that I could. Sean had everything organized quite well. Now, okay, the way that's sharing isn't exactly right. Our website for the show is largescaletrains.com, but the actual database you're looking at, since it doesn't show the browser web address, is actually usatdb.largescaletrains.com. I'll have to put a link to that in there. And we basically just have it broken down from Sean's collection of stuff. To locomotives, we have, like I said, everything that Sean has collected of things they've made in the past. One thing I found interesting as I was looking through here that I hadn't realized before, I always said, well, nobody made a Penn Central locomotive in G scale. Well, I was wrong, because as we can see, USA did make a GG1 in Penn Central. So there was at least one factory produced Penn Central locomotive. But so far, I think that, everything seems to flow halfway decent on the website. Like I said, there's going to be some things that are probably, as you notice, the image at the top here is kind of blurry. I have to fiddle around with some resolutions on pictures and that, but it's functional at the moment. Keep in mind the website, the show, all this stuff that I do is all a addition to what I do as a hobby. I got a day job, and as people tell me, don't quit it. So don't quit your day job. I'm not planning on it, so don't worry, guys. But yeah, we also have something I found interesting that Sean had on here was he had road number matrices. And I don't know if I got these sorted exactly perfectly, but every now and then you kind of wonder what road numbers USA offered in something specifically, and it's actually kind of nice to be able to look and see, if you have all the we got one friend, Kyle, that likes to get all the road numbers of his USA Conrail cars, so it is kind of nice to be able to take a look and see what they made. I know I'm bebopping all over the place here. I didn't have anything planned out in great regards to this. Sean just said, hey, I'd like to show this. So I said, all right, I'll go ahead and show it. But I'll put a better link to that in the description of the video. because I don't think I have a link to it on the main Large Scale Trains website yet, but I will get to that, I promise.
All right, so there we go. Those are the two newest things that me and Andrew have worked on. Andrew has done all the work actually on the Facebook group, but has helped me tremendously by putting up the a database basically for the stuff that I've collected, information and photos on USA Trains. I also have, as you guys noticed, come out with a sort of like a documentary video series of USA Trains and certain things that I thought people would find interesting to watch, and it seems to be doing pretty well. One of the things in interest was the USA Trains custom runs videos, and that seemed to be doing pretty good. So I'm going to put another video up sometime this weekend. So look out for that. Starting with the letter G. All right. With that being said, let's go ahead and bring up our guest. So we kept everybody waiting long enough.
All right. So from the great white north in Canada,
Ah, welcome to Canada. It's cold. I'm in a t-shirt. How you guys
Steve,
doing today?
How you doing this evening?
Oh, pretty good. Can't complain. I'm excited. I'm nervous. Never done any live kind of show like this before, so.
Well, I always explain to all the guests, just pretend you're at a train show, hanging out with your backyard, hanging out with your friends. It's basically what we're here. That's what we're doing. We're hanging out with our friends, right?
For sure, man.
Yeah. So everybody here, basically we all know each other. We're all in the communities of one way or another, either through Facebook or websites or train shows. So we basically all know each other. So we're, all train family actually.
Yeah, for sure.
So I guess the first question I have for you is what got you into G scale in the first place?
Well, in my 20s, I was kind of serving my apprenticeship, and I always had this fascination on how things are made. I made myself a little cannon that fires, and then I thought, what else could I get into? And then I think, like a steam engine would be nice, right? So, and that's where it started. First engine I ever bought was this AccuCraft Ruby, and it's just a little simple engine, but just the thought that goes in behind those, little butane gas tank, boiler, oiler for the connecting rods and cylinders and stuff like that. And this was amazing, right? So I set up 150 feet of track around some trees, and I had a few cars, and I'm like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then I got looking online, and same kind of thing as you, eh? You start looking at USA train stuff, and I was in amazement. I was like, look at that giant diesel, right? So I was in love with the SD70 Max, right? And they had them in Canadian National Paint Scheme. So like, I got to get one of these. So I went out and bought one. And pretty much just like everybody else, you start with a mismatch of cars, like steam era, mixed with inner models. And then, as you start looking and doing your research on prototypical, you get to see, shouldn't really be running that with this engine. You take it as a learning curve, I guess. Yeah, I see it now, people getting into it.
Stop smiling, Sean. Stop.
Yeah. I think we've all made that mistake at some point. Right?
Well, some of us still continue to make the mistake, and we're okay with it.
Yeah. So, then I bought the SD70 Mac and a handful of cars, and it was just track power at the time, right? And then I got looking, I wish I could get sound in this thing, right? So I started looking up who around, does like a sound system or something like that. And then I came across Winona Garden Railway. And John Burden there, great guy to work with, offers reasonable prices. He talked me into battery power and the revolution in the Phoenix systems, right? And I swear that when I went to see John for the first time, he had this layout out there, the grain silos, grain hoppers, and he had some stuff that was weathered. I was like, oh my God, I was like a kid, right? I was drooling. It's like, oh, I need this, instant. So Didn't take long to convince me to go battery and a sound and remote control. And next thing you know, I got another CN SD70 Mac. And then what did I get next? I think I got some SD40s, some Dash 9s. You know, it's just going, it's like, oh, gotta have that, gotta have that. So, yes, I'm an avid collector.
Oh, that's great. And you're you're our first international guest, basically. So you're in Canada.
Yeah, I'm in southern Ontario, Canada, just east of Toronto. I'm sure you guys have all heard of Toronto. It's cold up here now, so but it hasn't been too bad. But yeah, I guess I'm excited to be the first international guest on the show. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Yeah. No problem.
International man of mystery, right?
Yeah, yeah. Those that know me know my know me well. I guess we'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
So that's interesting that your first G scale train was actually a live steam locomotive.
Yeah. And then as soon as I got into the diesels, I kind of shelved the live steam for a bit. And probably in over the last 3 years, I got back into the live steam. I acquired a K37 by AccuCraft, beautiful engine.
Oh wow.
AML 060 live steam, a 129 scale, which I'll be running here shortly, and a AccuCraft C25. So,
Nice.
yeah.
How are the like the larger steam engines run, like the K27 that you're talking about? How is that? Is that like easy to run, or that should somebody start off with a Ruby first and get used to that?
You know what? Like I did, yeah. If you have no idea, right, buy the Ruby because ultimately, if you're going to make any mistakes, make a mistake on something a little bit cheaper, right, as opposed to the likes of a K37. The one thing I will say about the K37 is it's not a heavy maintenance engine. You pretty much fill it with water, fuel, make sure there's oil in the oiler, right, to get to the cylinders. And that thing will run for about an hour without having to do anything to it. Some of my smaller engines, like the 060 and the C25, constant maintenance. You're always up watching it, making sure it's got water, right, and then adjusting throttles. So the C25 I have actually has axle pumps. So there's the next level of something to keep an eye on, right? So you got to want to make sure that that's pumping water, maintaining boiler level, because these are just like the real thing. Sorry, Gerald. I try to be more stereotypical. Boots.
Sorry, I had to pop that up there.
Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, why don't I? If you guys want, I could switch to camera one. I'll light the boiler on the 060. I kind of preheated up a bit so I can talk about some of the bits and pieces, the basics of firing and running a live steam engine.
All right, yeah, let's do that. I'm excited.
Let's see. I think you might have to add that one back in again, Steve. I don't see that available. Yeah, I think it dropped out of there.
I think my phone died. It's okay. I've got a backup here.
Charlie is asking, is he wearing a Strasburg Railroad shirt?
Because I love Strasburg.
There you go. So you got somebody all the way in Canada who loves Strasburg Railroad. I think Strasburg Railroad is actually loved all the way around the world. Probably one of the top 10 most famous.
I mean, you know, it's you know, where else can you go that they have that much stuff? Although I would like to get back to the Illinois Railway Museum one day. They have a ton of stuff up there as well.
Yeah, I would like to visit that one. If this COVID ever gets done and over with, I like to go to Ohio altogether and visit a few places out there.
We'll come back to your question in a moment here, Paul, about a club, but I'll switch to Charlie's comment here that he popped up that he got married at Strasbourg.
Yeah, he showed me some pictures of that. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. Like I don't know. I guess your wife has to be pretty awesome to go for a wedding it's at the railroad, right?
Yeah, I mean, who would even think of doing something like that? It's like it's like wow, mind blown. So Steve is currently setting up his live locomotive, but he
Oh,
has to add. Um,
looks like he's got his camera going there. Let's see if I can add it.
okay,
And then I'll
Yeah, the
drop.
battery died on my phone while it was sitting there, so I got it plugged in, so it should be good.
yeah.
Amateur mistake, hey? Canadians. All right, so the first thing we're going to want is some fire. I've already filled up the gas tank, the boiler. I'll just go through the
Make
lighting
him bigger,
process. You're always
Andrew.
going to want
Oh yeah,
flame
yeah.
before introducing gas.
Oh, him,
Not
not
you.
me. There we go.
You guys see that little blue flame?
Yes.
Okay. So basically, it's like the real thing. You're going to have cylinders, running gear, valve linkage. Inside here, you've got access to a boiler. You've got a fill port for water. And in these engines, you're going to want to run distilled water. Regular tap water has too many minerals on it and can affect boiler chemistry and deposits. You've got a throttle lever here. This here is a displacement lubricator, so these are pretty cool. Basically, you add some steam oil right into that little cylinder, and once the engine's all steamed up and you crack the throttle, the first part of steam comes through the throttle into this oiler and displaces the oil, so it leaves a bit of steam behind and pushes oil into the cylinders to lubricate the pistons and the valve gear. Next part here, we got the gas tank in the tender. So this just runs on regular butane, and we've got a hand pump here. You can pump water. This one's got a check valve. You can pump water into the boiler. If we go back into the cab, you'll see there's a sight glass there, and also a pressure gauge.
Oh,
So
nice.
this thing kicks off about 40 psi. There's a safety valve in the dome, and if you're ever wondering if you're a first timer, not really sure, you're going to want to wait until you see steam coming out of there, and then you can run the engine.
Now, do you have to lube up the side rods any with oil? I don't know if you
Oh,
could
you
hear
know
me.
what? He probably has the audio down on the phone. Let's see here.
Yeah, probably.
Let's see. Oh, sorry. Can you hear us, Steve?
Almost ready. It's about 40 psi.
He's trying to talk, Andrew. Switch cameras. Up too late.
See, you told me to switch. Now he went back.
You gotta be a little bit faster on the draw, Andrew.
I never would have been a good gunslinger.
Oh, man. I was just reading Jonathan's comment. it didn't seem to take long at all to get that thing up and running. That's pretty nice.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Someone was asking where you ran the wires for the headlight on that.
So I bought some 2mm LEDs that were pre-wired, and they're like 30 gauge wire, I believe.
Oh, okay.
They're very thin, and you can barely see them, which is nice. But I have them tucked into a little tube underneath the running gear, and the little switch is actually sits underneath the frame under the cab.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Andrew.
Yo.
Yeah, Ken's asking if Steve could show those wires once he's done running.
Well, probably not while we're running. No, but
Show you where the wires are.
what's that, Steve?
A. I'll work on that. I got to get some more A's in.
I gotta get more A's in.
What's that, Steve?
Meantime, he has to look at my belly.
Did you turn off his audio?
Nice.
Okay. So you can see a bit of wire here, and I've just got tied to the handrail. I suppose I could have done a nicer job, but when you're sitting down watching it, you don't even notice it. So that goes down underneath the frame, and below the frame, I've got one of those little brass tubes, about a quarter-inch diameter, and then I've got the battery switch tucked in underneath the frame. And that's kind of neat. It's the push fit. I can reach under there. Hopefully I don't burn myself. There we go. It's got a little switch, little coin cells in there. I got two of those coin cell batteries in there, on-off switch.
Very nice, Steve.
You guys will be all bona fide Canadians by the end of the show.
Bonafide Canadian. That's a pretty cool piece. That thing runs really smooth.
Oh
So-
yeah.
Actually, it doesn't seem like that's too much to get it heated up and going, and then shut it back down, Steve.
No, it's just a small boiler, and it's got a jet burner in it. 7 minutes, 8 minutes, which is nice. Some days you come home from work, you just want to wind down, and it's like, yeah, I think I got to run some live steam, sit down with my coffee, and I'll fire that thing up. It's a good way to unwind.
Yeah. Now, how many cars can that locomotive pull?
I've pulled 25 cars with that. And it's struggling, but I don't like to overload it because, like a real engine, it's going to wear out quicker.
Yeah.
I've done some maintenance on a few of these already, and it's so tiny and so fickle. I just want to keep it running as long as possible between maintenance times, because the O-rings do wear out. They got some O-rings inside for the pistons and on the glands where the rod comes out the cylinder. So every now and then you'll see puffs of steam, and it's usually a sign that they're wearing out.
Oh.
And you got to get the little micro tools out and take everything apart without breaking anything and replace it.
Oh.
Yeah,
So
it's fun though.
It's like maintaining a real steam locomotive then.
Yeah, just a smaller scale. If it wasn't for these fat fingers, life would be easier.
I can understand. Sometimes it's like, I don't know how people work on N scale or Z.
Oh, I know.
I'd have a
God
hard
bless
time
them.
going back to HO.
Well, you got Heath here from Human City Junction. He's an N scaler, so yeah. I myself, I have a hard time seeing N scale, but I watched a couple of his live shows, and he seems to be able to work on that stuff. So it's too small for me to work on because I got the same problem. I'm a diesel mechanic. I got these big fat fingers. I could never work on an N scale.
No, and you get used to working with metal and brass, right? And you get a certain grip for it. You pick up a little HO engine or N scale, and it's so dainty, right? I would probably snap it with my fingers, so I'm scared to go any smaller. So.
Paul's asking if that locomotive is 1/32 scale.
No, it's actually 129. There is a variant where they did 1/32 scale, and I believe they have one in the Southern Pacific, with the Vanderbilt tender, and they're alcohol fired. But yeah, they are a lot smaller. These, this little 060s are just switcher engines anyhow, but a 129 scale is rare. I think they have this engine and a what is it? A Hudson K4. AccuCraft did. So some of the this engine started off as a plain USRA, and they didn't offer a Canadian road name. So I had a friend of mine, Nick Lucas. He did the vinyl graphics there, the road number and the Canadian Pacific decal on the tender, and they did an amazing job. I went and built a brass pilot for it, cow catcher, and painted up the window frames just to give it a little bit of a different flavor. And I love it just the way it is.
Yeah, that looks really nice.
Yeah, it does look good. And speaking of, so you said you got into live steam at first, and then you saw the USA Train stuff and fell in love with it. So let's talk about that.
All right.
Get into some of the USA Trains and the diesels and stuff now.
For sure.
So you bought obviously USA Trains locomotives, but you've done quite a few different things with those since buying them.
Yeah.
Let's start with the weathering first before we get into the other thing that we
Sure.
So what are some of your ways you like to weather, your techniques and stuff like that.
Well, I first started weathering with the dry brush technique. You know, I was kind of scared of the airbrush, and then I bought myself a cheap little car to practice on. You know, I'll say $50 or $40, whatever. And I got used to it. I started buying acrylic water-based paints. That way, if you do mess up, you just spray a bit of thinner and wipe it off and start over. So I basically have a Pash airbrush with a salon grade air compressor. I like these because you can add your paint in there. I like to put a little bit thinner in first, and then a few drops of paint, and then mix it in there and spray it on the little test piece. And tricks to weathering is really thin coats. You don't want blotches. The blotches do have an effect for uh, like a spatter, kind of like how Charlie Zimmerman last week was, or the last time was flicking that paintbrush. You know, you get the little spots. That was really cool. You can do the same thing with an airbrush, but it tends to clog up the nozzle, so I wouldn't recommend that. So if you're going to use an airbrush, you're going to use it for fading the paints, adding some dirt here and there. You can do rust spots, you can mask stuff off, and you can also do washes with it. You can thin a paint down far enough where just enough to change the color, spray it onto your rail car, and then go with the brush right after, something like that, and just start wiping up and down or wipe up and start moving that paint around wherever you want it. And it'll come up as like a water streak effect, you know, if the car's been in the weather for a bit, you know, rains. You can add rust stains, same kind of way, and put little streaks, and then you'll have the background for a rust spot, and then you can go in after and stipple in some rust paints, and that way you've got a dark and a light shade, and you can do that in layers. So you could keep going back at that until you get the get what you like, essentially. So I spent a lot of time. I've made mistakes, have some wins. I'm not going to call myself a professional weatherer, but I think I'm doing it right.
Something I forgot about, I was going to come back to was Paul had asked if you belonged to any clubs where you're at, Steve.
No clubs. Don't really have the time. I'm still employed. I wish I was retired, but hey, dreams. So these days I bring a lot of work home with me as well. And the nice thing about this hobby is I can drop it when I need to and go take care of real world stuff and then come back in here and enjoy myself.
And Paul had also asked if you have an outdoor layout as well.
Pardon? Outdoor? Not anymore. I used to. Different life, different story. So that was actually pretty sad. I didn't want to let that go, but hey, life goes on. I did have, I'd say, a pretty cool layout. It was about 220 feet of main line with about 150 feet of sidings, another little smaller loop. I had water feature. I think Andrew's got some vids. He could.
Yeah, I'll just take me a moment here. I got a couple of your videos here I can share up there.
Yeah. Hopefully I'm dressed or well dressed in them.
Yeah. I hope so too. We got to save that stuff for when this is on Sean's channel.
What is your YouTube channel called, Steve?
Oh, it's pretty basic. I was not very creative with that. So I work at a nuclear plant. So I just thought nuke, and then I tried to assign a number to it, like my birth year, and then somebody had already taken that. So and it's like, crap, I just want this in. So I just stuck a whole bunch of ones in behind it. So it's actually nuke with about 9 ones in behind it. It's pretty lame, but
let's see.
Only in Canada, hey?
Let's see if I can share this video up here.
Do you have a lot of train traffic in your area?
Train traffic?
Yeah.
Where I used to live, where my old layout was, there was 3 mainline. We had 2 CN tracks, was shared with VIA, and then a CP line. And I lived about a quarter-mile away, so you could hear them. The odd time when I'm coming home from work, I get stopped at the gray, and I'd be like, "Oh, cool! What's going to be coming today?" Right? So it's a nice little bonus. Yeah, here's my old layout. Those are actually AML Bethgon coal cars. Beautifully made car. Of course, I had to have a pile of them. You can't just have 1 or 2 of those. You got to have a fleet.
Right. Yes. Why not?
I'd say just like Pringles, you can't have just one, but I'm not. Is Pringles a thing in Canada?
Do you
Yeah,
still have all these?
I do. I've got about 350 cars.
Wow. That's pretty nice.
Hey, you had a really nice outdoor layout, Steve.
Thanks. Right
It's a
where those
lot.
flowers are, that was my original layout around those trees. And then probably about 2016, I started building a pondless waterfall, and I
Oh wow!
started expanding the layout.
Wow.
I was thinking it looked like a lot of work, but until I saw the waterfall, it really looks like a lot of work.
Yeah. Well, back then I had a backhoe. I dug out all those stones out of the back of my property, and then me and my ex, we washed them all, and I used the backhoe to place the bigger stones. Um, that pond kit was relatively inexpensive. Like I said, if you had to do it from scratch, buying all those stones would probably be the biggest expense. But like I said, I was fortunate enough; they were all there, ready on the property. I just had to take them out.
Nice. I like that waterfall effect. Did you have fish in this pond?
No, that was originally the plan to have a little bit of koi in there.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, well, that's going to attract predators. And, if I got trains there, kind of don't really want that stuff. So just kept it simple as water. It's only about 8 inches to 10 inches deep. And, you get the frogs in there. And that's about it. No fish, no bird crap to clean off the trains.
I like that silo facility this train's going around.
Yeah, those are Pico kits, Pico grain building, grain storage and silos. I still have that stuff too. Just need a place to put them. Yeah, this was before I expanded the layout. I had cut about 8 feet off the bottom of the trees there, and then brought in about 10 yards of topsoil, another 10 yards of limestone. There's probably about a foot of limestone underneath the whole roadbed.
So the biggest question I have for you is, do you still have the backhoe?
No, no, I live in the city now,
Oh.
so
So now you got to do
I,
everything by hand.
I'd be renting. Well, this day and age, I think I'm going to do a raised layout because I do enjoy running live steam. It's horrible to run live steam bending down on your knees, messing around with an engine. It's fine with the battery stuff, but as I get older, I think I'm going to want to tend to my back and try and keep things at table height, just kind of how I have in the shop here. Some of that stuff's really heavy. And I'm just trying to think for the future. What am I going to run to? What's going to be easiest for me?
I mean, this is so cool because I'm actually seeing something different. I'm actually watching Canadian trains, so this is like for me, it's something different to see, and it's
Yeah, for
exciting.
sure. That's the nice thing about the hobby, I like Union Pacific stuff, BNSF, Norfolk Southern. So anytime I see people with that stuff, or even some of the old Aristo RS3s, in the Norfolk and Western, it's like, oh, that's cool, right? And you get talking to other guys doing custom stuff, stuff that's not even produced, and it's like it's pretty wild.
Yeah, and we do have Canadian Railroad that runs through the United States, so
Yeah, CN runs down there, so does CP.
yep.
I
Yeah,
remember
they
probably
actually
about
own track in the United States.
yeah. I remember I was in Tennessee. I was in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and I saw a CN locomotive, and I was like, "That's a long way from home." That was really before I knew about their operations. It's like, oh, that's see.
Do we have any video ready, Andrew, of his weathering? Because I think we should play that next.
We do. Where did it go?
I'll let him talk about that before we get too far off subject.
Mm.
Bruce Morrill says CP runs into Philadelphia. Wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know they ran that far in to the east.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Today is the day that I try my best to take some video while doing some weathering. First, I'll show you some small items. First up is coffee. Coffee is always necessary, especially in one of your favorite cups. Second up, we've got a salon grade.
Wait a minute. That cup said PRR on it, right?
Yeah, man.
Shame on you. It doesn't say Canadian National on there.
Well, I have that one in my lunch bag. That one I take to work with me, right? Got to have a favorite mug everywhere.
Tamiya acrylic paints, some Vallejo pigments, thinner, cleaner, brushes, syringe. That's probably the single most important item for me because it allows me to gauge exactly how much thinner I'm putting in. Now, first thing I do is just take the cap off here, grab a little bit of thinner in a syringe, and then fill up just a little bit down on the bottom. Fire up your air compressor. And relax. Loaded some paint into the airbrush, but I don't want to apply it just yet, so I'll find a little spot to spray it through. Oh yeah, look at that. Right off the bat, nice consistency. Okay. Just want a couple of shots of the trigger. Going back. The nice thing about these acrylics with the mixing it with alcohol is it dries rather quickly when you spray it. I suppose it's because of the atomization process, but it certainly speeds up weathering. I myself have probably weathered 150 cars, and I'll tell you, after the first couple, you're going to want to find a quicker way to do things.
Now, I was just going to stop real quick, and you don't run actual track power, right, Steve?
No. Every engine I get is either live steam or it gets converted to battery and remote control.
Because I noticed, like, as you're airbrushing, you're hitting the treads of the wheels and that. But I imagine that's probably not too terrible to clean off of there either once you're done if you do run track power, is it?
No, I wouldn't bother masking it. Like you could easily put the power leads on there while it's upside down and run it. Like if a lot of the track power stuff have the shoes, the pickup shoes, run the wheels off of that and clean it off. Or, I guess if you wanted to be a bit more fickle, you could tape it off. But
all right, I just figured I'd ask.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this with battery power, you can run the wheels, run it at a slow speed, so you don't have to take the frames off the side frames off the truck, and you could weather the whole wheel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can already tell the difference. A bit more. Now I'll go ahead and weather missed off the bottom of the trucks here a little bit. Gotta make sure I get everything. I'll get under the steps, tanks, gas tank. Just gonna simulate the first bit of dirt that I bred, and go back to the trucks a little bit later, let the paint set up a little. Now I'm gonna focus on these little grills. I'm gonna go back to my red-brown color. And I'm just gonna highlight the grills. You always see a little bit of dust coming out. They always seem to stand out a little bit. Not too much. We'll start over here. See that? Just gentle, 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 gentle.
The way you look so easy, Steve.
Now you might be wondering why I'm doing a little bit past, so the locomotive's upside down. Usually with rain you get a little bit of staining as it drips down, so that's why I'm doing that. Get some brown on the white. The nice thing about an airbrush is you can almost shoot paint. Unlike a brush where it can be difficult. Yeah, even the door. Why not? Alright, so I've got my flat earth, this test spray, nice, perfect. Yeah, let's get some dirt on there. Yeah. One of the highlights of this is, you know, if you look at when your car's gone through the rain and you haven't washed it, you see where all the dirt tends to build up. You see a lot on the edges and smears, and so that's what I'm doing here. I'm just gonna highlight the steps a little bit. Get some more on the coupler on the top. There we go, a little bit there. There we go. Shoot it from far away. Back in and do some. Yeah. When was the last time you saw a locomotive with shiny steps? Walkways. Yeah. This probably would have been easier if I took the handrails off, but the real bonus here is that I get some dirt on them too, at the same time. That's the look you're going for.
You're progressing right along there, Steve.
What's that?
I said you're progressing right along there, aren't you? Jeez.
Oh yeah.
Go over this and brown.
The airbrush is nice. You know, you can get at stuff quicker.
So,
and once you do a few, your
I said,
confidence
just
builds up,
patience.
and you tend to know where you want
Patience
to
and
paint
time.
and how much.
A little bit more dirt there. Look at that. Now, if you wanted to do a little bit of light weathering, I think your locomotive's still looking a little bit new. It's almost perfect. Just enough to take the glare off and say, hey, still clean, but I'm being used. Almost. Just notice the insides of the stirrups. That's okay. Blast. Quick blast. Blast. Now, if you do get too much color on one time, don't worry. Once you go over it with other colors, you can mask maybe mistakes or add to the appeal of the weathering you're giving it. Alright, let that dry up.
I think that was about the end of it, wasn't it? Let's see here. Well, I think you had a little bit more there. I might have loaded only half the file. Let's see here.
Well, that's all right. I mean, for those that are scared of airbrushes, you know, it's just the way to show them, hey, it's not as bad, right? The big bad wolf's not going to scare you. So, and like I said, with acrylic water-based paints, you make some oopsies, you can clean them up relatively easy, right? So,
Let's see. I'll drop that down out of there. Let me look here real quick. I thought I had more to the video than that. Bear with me a moment, folks. While I look here again.
While he's doing that, Steve, John Simkovich had a question for you. He's got the same live steam locomotive that you do,
right.
and he
Good
was wondering,
evening, lady.
he was considering making it radio controlled, and he wanted to know your thoughts on that.
I actually put radio control on the Ruby that I used to have, and you know, if you're running a ground layout, probably be the best thing for it. I know when I used to go to Winona Garden Railway when he had his ground layout, he was adamant that's what you need, right? Because you want to be able to control the throttle or gas, sometimes the Johnson bar if you want to go forward and reverse, because they're manual control engines, right? I think in that case, running the servos probably a really good idea.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think here now. Did we have 10 minutes of video on that last one?
Not quite sure.
Because when we cut off, you still had it upside down, didn't you, Steve, or no?
No, it was right side up.
Was it right side up? Oh,
Yeah, that was pretty much done. I did have to change.
Okay. Yeah, because I remember you doing that part there.
Yeah, I was starting to do a little bit of washing, and I couldn't hold the camera and the airbrush and my
Ah,
other brush at the same time. So
okay. So I had all the video you sent me then. Okay.
yeah, and that's just to get a basic, throw some dust and dirt on, and it still brings out. Wow, that kind of looks real, right? So
Someone was asking if that video was up on your channel.
no, no, I haven't uploaded
I
that yet.
I can I can send you the clips I put together if you want to upload them to your channel, Steve, for people to see.
Sure, no problem.
One comment I saw though when you were doing that was someone commented that they recognized the bell from Shapeways, and I don't think it's from Shapeways if I share this image here.
That's
Let's
right.
see.
All the detailed parts on that Jeep 9 are homemade.
Yeah, let's see here.
And while Andrew's fumbling around with that, Crazy Train 525 said that he wants a boxcar with big pictures of Dak Band and MrPictovid's faces on it.
I don't know how well that would sell. So the bell that Steve has on there, he actually made. Steve made a bunch of the detail parts that are on there. Let's see here. I believe I got a picture here of when you were mounting the bell. I have to commend you there, Steve. I'm not quite sure how you seem to make a lot of things that you know. I believe
It just
when,
comes to me. Like
yeah.
I'll get an image in my head of what I want, and then right off the bat, I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to make this? I've got a milling machine, I've got a little lathe, I've got various hand tools. So I sometimes I struggle. I'll get at thinking, okay, this is the right way to make this, and I get so far, it's like, now how am I going to do that bit? So then it's like, okay, start over. Yeah, same with the
Now,
hand wheel, the
now,
brake wheel on the back or the front end of the locomotive.
did you use a rotary table on your mill to cut out those pockets, or how did you do that?
Yeah, I use the rotary table. So that's just context. That's about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, the hand wheel. So when I have a 3-jaw chuck on my rotary table, so I just pop that in there, counted out or calculated the segments of where I was going to have the spokes, and I went at machining.
Now, something else that I thought was really neat that you did was your winterization hatch that you did for the top of that is brass as well, and you actually made yourself your own form to make that.
Yeah.
So basically, you just used your press, put a flat piece of brass on there, and squeezed your die down in from the top. Then, right? To
Yeah.
form that.
I didn't want to. I could have made a steel female portion of it. Like we'll just bring it here. I could have made this all out of steel, and there's a lot more. I probably do this with wood and then just clean it up. Like you'll see in the picture, the ends don't fold up properly. So as you cut the excess of that off, and the nice thing about copper is you can hammer it into itself and then sand it smooth. So that's ultimately what I ended up doing. If you go to the next pic,
Yeah.
then I got the cutout. I put a little screen in there.
There, I got this one here. Yeah, you
Oh
actually.
wow, that's nice.
Yeah. So I just bought some screening material, and on the other side, I had some little brass pieces that I soldered in to hold the screen in place. Prime it, paint it, and looks blended in well, really nice, I thought.
Now, something else I thought was really neat was you needed some additional louvers on your locomotive.
Yeah.
Uh,
I needed to take some off, and I wanted to add some. Ultimately, I decided I was just going to add some, and the ones that needed to go were just going to stay. Yeah. It's a
so
lot of work.
we can see you made it out of brass there, but what I thought was really neat, and I don't think I have any video of you making it, but I do have some pictures of how you made a die to form those.
Yeah.
Is you used a key cutter in your mill on an angle to actually mill and make your own form for it.
Yep.
I got to give you credit for ingenuity there. That's pretty wild.
Wow.
And let's see, did you have a picture of the actual? There's
Well,
a one. You did your antenna for the roof. I thought was pretty neat. I know that picture's a little bit blurry, but you basically made it out of a staple, didn't you?
no, it's just a little scrap piece of copper,
Got a piece of
a
copper.
couple, and I use
That's it here, right?
yeah, I had I know it looks like a staple. Didn't
That's
even
what
think to use a staple. But I tend to get flat stock of copper, and I've got a small brake press as well, so I can line it up and shear off the width that I want, and form up. I look at pictures and stuff and try to scale it. How is it going to look real? That's not an exact prototype, but yeah, what I did was made two pieces, and I cut out a section in the middle and then soldered it all together, and I soldered on some tabs so I could stick it into the cab.
This is when you were soldering it up here.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
Wow.
Yeah, you put a good bit of work into that, Steve. That's quite impressive.
Yeah, and to think I want to build another one.
And like I hinted at in the teaser video that I did, obviously, this is what you started with.
Yeah.
That paint scheme kind of hurts my eyes.
Yeah, it hurt me too. I had to put the box. I had to keep it in the box, and it's a local. I actually grew up in Hamilton, so growing up as a kid, I used to see them, but I can't really stand the colors.
So
There's people that love them.
did you actually strip this down before you painted it, or did you just go right over top of it, Steve?
No, I went over the numbers in the lettering with 99% alcohol and a cotton swab. Remove them because they will show up. You can sand it as well. There's a couple of cars, like some products, you only have one or two road numbers, and you kind of want to make some different. So that was a practice piece for me to practice removing just the letter or the number, and then I can go in with a marker or some paint and change the road number without having to buy decals, right?
So, because looking at the picture you have here, zooming in, I don't see any of the original lettering or anything. So
yeah, the only thing that it's if you go back to the TH&B pictures, there's that little pinstripe that will show up, but like when I weathered the engine, you don't even tell. Yeah, see the yellow pinstripe at the top?
Okay.
I left that alone, but yeah, you don't even see that.
Now I noticed I think it was this picture. Did you do some additional windows or something on here?
No, I just detail painted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now the decals you did on this, were they water slide, dry transfer?
There were water slides from Circuit City. And this was the first engine that I ever did decals with since I was a kid, building car models and stuff. So I was a little bit scared. That CN noodle was really tough to do. It wants to wrinkle up as soon as you're pulling it out of the water. So I think when I do another one, I'm going to cut into the backing plate just a little bit. And when I pull it out of the water, I can use it and slide the decal onto the workpiece.
And I did.
But they came up well, right? I'm surprised with the whites. I was hoping it wasn't going to show any of the black through. I was thinking, I might have to add paint, but no, the numbers, the CN noodle came out really good.
Yeah, that looks pretty good. And I think this is one after you had it back together and you had it weathered up.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that they came out looking really good.
John's asking, how long did it take to remove the lettering with 99% alcohol?
You can start removing it in about 10 minutes. So, like, I was just using a cotton swab, dipping it into a little container of alcohol, and I just kept keeping it wet, right? Right around the 20-minute mark, you can start really taking the lettering off, right? So yeah, I took the TH&B off the cab and the rest. So probably altogether, probably about an hour. The thing about alcohol, like if you're just doing lettering and numbers, if you only don't want to do one number, then great. Yeah, you'll be done in 20 minutes. Everything else, because you have to try and keep it wet without removing the paint and behind it. It's a little bit. You kind of want to take your time with that, and the alcohol dries.
Yeah, Jen's Bang is asking, do you replace traction tires with regular all-metal wheels, or do you keep your traction tires?
Most of my engines I do. This one I haven't yet. It just becomes what project is next on my list. But I do like to get rid of them. I'd rather the wheel spin if I'm pulling a heavy train as opposed to grip with the traction tires, because then you just strip the gears on the axles, right?
And I did have, let's see here, you'd sent me a video clip. I did like the custom exhaust pieces you did on the top there, and you had sent me a video clip of when you started it up and had the smoke on. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah. The trick there was to warm them up first, and then it's not in this clip, but I hit the sound button on the RailPro and then hit the smoker unit, and you get that little puff because there was some lingering in there before, and I thought, oh, that's cool, just like the wheel thing.
Yeah.
You mentioned RailPro and reminded me that we probably need to talk about that, huh?
Yeah. John was asking who made the base engine? Is that a USA Trains?
Yes.
Pardon me?
That's USA Trains, right?
Oh yeah, that's a USA Trains Jeep 9.
So your controller of choice is RailPro.
Absolutely.
Correct? So tell us a little bit about that and why you like RailPro over everything else.
Okay. All right. At first glance, here is a RailPro receiver.
Let's make you bigger.
Nice,
here,
sleek
Steve.
design. You get a little wiring harness for the triggers. Okay, simple. Now let me show you the old way of doing things with a giant revolution board, linear controller, and oh wait, let's add Phoenix sound. That's a whole lot of stuff to put into a locomotive, right? Just to get sound and power control.
Is that a linear adapter that you have in your one hand, Steve?
Well, that was
Yeah. Okay, I thought that's what you had.
In the bigger engines, it's fine because in an SD70 you've got loads of room. But let's say you want to do something smaller like a Jeep 9 or an NW2, you're not going to have a whole lot of room. And then, especially if you want to put battery. So with RailPro, Jonathan the Fish Guy, you'll notice that the tiny little slots, or what do you want to call them? I'm no electrician, but put all your wires in. You can wire in your motor blocks on the engines with working class lights, the red green lights. You can wire them into the other side of the motor block boards, and that way when the current changes, if you're going forward, the forward lights will be green, and then when you go backwards, they'll switch to red automatically. So that's a nice feature. Also, you've got ports to add power to your smoke system. You get into the trigger wires. There's and a bunch of them. Where did I put them? It's around here somewhere. But anyway, you can add lighting effects. smoke. What do you guys want to know about RailPro? Let's just go with that.
Yeah.
Well, how much easier is to install RailPro over like the Revolution, for example?
Like the Revolution, a newer Revolution does have sound on it, but lower grade quality, I suppose. But with one of these, you take apart a stock engine. First thing you want to do is get rid of all your halogen lights and put in LEDs. And with this, you wire in 100 ohm resistor to, let's say, a quarter watt or a 5 volt LED, and give it a trigger function. And in your controller, it's all based on the color of the wire. So you just, when you're setting everything up, you write down the color of wire you hooked up the lights to, and then when you go into your controller to do all your settings, you assign a name and a function. So ditch lights, you can have them so they're full on, or you can have them blinking, or you can have them linked to the horn. You sound the horn at a grade crossing, the ditch lights will blink, which is pretty cool. Revolution, it's on or off, right?
Yeah.
It's really, really quite simple. The one thing that always got me is, I've done some house wiring in the past, and common wire, pretty much on a drawing, you'll see a power wire, and then you'll see a bunch of commons. So in my head, I keep that as a negative, but when you're actually working with the RailPro, that common line is actually your positive, and all your triggers are basically on the negative side. So that's one thing to remember.
Oh yeah,
but yeah,
kind of a little bit different.
Yeah.
So,
all right, and so RailPro has the sound system built into it, because somebody's asking, what sound system do you use?
No, it's RailPro has its own sound. You go to their website, and basically, depending on the engine you put in, like if you put it in an SD70 or SD40, what have you, Jeep 9, you look up, you can do a Google search. You don't have to know all your stuff. You just say, oh, what engine was in a Jeep 9, right? And it'll show up as, 567 ULT or something like that. Or as a Mac, you'll get I think it's a 710 ULT. And then you can find the horns, try different horns, bells. So much nicer to work with.
Do you have your RailPro remote there now, Steve?
Yeah, I'll go grab it. It's just over here.
So it seems to be more fine-tuned to the locomotive itself.
Yeah. So that's just turning on. We'll just see if I get a better angle so it's not so white.
And what kind of transmitter is this? Is this Bluetooth, or is it radio frequency? What are we using here?
They don't. I was reading the specs on that on their site the other day, and it's not Bluetooth. It is, from what I understand, radio frequency.
It has to be radio, because Bluetooth's only good for a few feet, right?
They do have other standards of Bluetooth that will go further, but I do know they specifically said on their site they're not using Bluetooth, and it's not Wi-Fi. I know it is radio frequency.
Yeah. So the nice thing about it, this is the main page. I don't know if you can see all that well. Yeah, but you have the ability to run engines, your turnouts, accessories, and then you can download sounds and functions onto here right from the website, and then transmit it to the locomotive. So the nice thing about it too is you can save all the features, and if you're doing a few locomotives at the same time, once you've got your sounds and lighting effects already in the remote, it's just a simple transfer to the locomotive. It's kind of neat.
So the locomotive does actually store its own sound files and everything. It's not.
That's right, and you can pick it up from any remote. You can also set a password on here, like if you are at a club and you pick up somebody else's engine. Yeah, you can start messing with their heads, or you can set passwords so nobody else can run the locomotive. But yeah, up in the corner here is your locomotive button. And I've got 3 of my own engines there, and one friend was running his Norfolk Southern SD40 for a while. But yeah, you can take pictures of your own locomotives and then download them, and then that way You can just,
those are actually pictures you put on there of your stuff then, Steve?
yeah,
Oh, no, that's kind of neat.
yeah. So,
what is the range on that? Do you know offhand?
probably 100 feet, maybe 200 if you've got line of sight. But RailPro does offer a repeater system. So if you've got a large, let's say 200 by 400 layout, you're probably going to want to put some repeaters in just in case, oh, there's a boo-boo, or, I got to stop running trains right now for whatever reason, and
Yeah, I know. I was talking to Robbie at
especially,
RLC the other day, and he was saying that he has a repeater that he put up for his, so he can get the full range that he needs.
nice. Yeah, in the shop here, it works well. I even bought the dongle, and I can run things right off my tablet. Not sure where I put it, but it's around here somewhere. It's just a little USB dongle, right? For the same idea as a wireless keyboard or mouse. You just plug it into the side of the tablet. John at Winona Garden Railway saying he's got 11 hours of running on his transmitter. So
That's
yeah,
not too bad.
yeah, that's pretty good. The one thing about this is when you're trying to download functions on this, you're using battery power. It's not self-aware to say, hey, I could be charging at the same time, like your telephone or cell phone. That'd probably be about the only downside to this, other than having to click through various other things to get to something. That's the one nice thing I did like about Revolution. Everything's an assigned number. If you want to turn smoke on, you can just hit button 6. Boom, you got smoke. You don't have to look at it. With this, you kind of got to guide through it, look at it, make sure you're picking what you want.
And how easy is it to install this board inside of a locomotive? Let's say I bought a brand new USA Trains SD70 Mac. I mean, how much time would I spend on putting a RailPro into it?
Okay, so you take the engine apart. RailPro, an SD70 Mac's already got some LEDs. You'd have to change out the number board lights to LED. And right off there, John showed me a good tip about wiring them right into a battery switch so that you know that the engine's on. And if you need to turn the switch off or put it on charge, I got to say 4 or 5 hours, probably. By the time you solder in the resistors and figure out where you're going to run wires. It's a good little, or even a weekend project. Let's say you wanted to do a little bit today, a little bit tomorrow. It's relatively simple. And the boards themselves are smooth on the bottom, unlike the Revolution.
Yeah, they got all the solder stuff on the bottom of them.
Yeah, and I bought a roll of two-sided tape, so I'll just unroll and I'll just okay, how much tape do I need? I'll mark it with my finger, I'll snip it off, and boom, that's going in there. It's installed.
Wow. Now, you made mention of the USB dongle that they sell. Basically, you get a virtual interface of the handheld that pretty much functions exactly like the handheld, except I think on their website there's like a few options that are for like screen brightness and stuff that wouldn't apply to, being virtual on the PC. But I mean, you have everything else there though, right? That you can
and you can do all your downloading right off their computer. Basically, if you didn't want to use the handheld remote and have to worry about charging it up.
Yeah, that's what when I talked to Robbie at RLD, he said he does all of his setup using the dongle because he doesn't have to worry about it going dead. He just leaves it plugged into the computer at his workbench there.
Yeah.
And what is it? 20, well, Canadian, it could be different in price, but I think it's, I don't know, $25, $35 or something for the dongle. It's not too expensive.
Yeah, up here it's $45.
45.
Winona Garden Railway sells them for $45. Yeah, the handheld remote's expensive, but comparatively, if you were going to buy or looking at buying a Revolution with a receiver, Phoenix sound, versus a RailPro controller and a receiver, the difference is marginal. I think the RailPro is actually a bit cheaper, if I recall. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but so if anybody's worried about, the expensive cost of a controller, it's a one-time expense, right? You buy one, take care of it, and maybe buy a backup just in case, like most Revolution users.
Well, my biggest concern with it was, the cost of the controller, but also, like with Revolution, I like having a second one for a backup, but for the cost of the USB dongle, it could serve as a backup. I never wanted to be in a place where I'm ready to run all my stuff and for some reason the remote's broken, now I can't play.
Yeah, exactly.
So I could see the USB dongle would be a good
For
backup
sure.
for that.
And there's tons of tablets out there. You get the little 10-inch tablets, or if you wanted to just for transporting, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's got a USB port, boom.
And my
Easy.
other thing was, like I liked with Revolution, I could just swap the AA batteries out of it. But Winona Garden Railways said, what do you say? You got 11 hours out of a charge on his.
Yeah.
I mean, if you start out, I can't tell you the last time I ran trains for 11 hours straight.
Yeah.
Not that it doesn't sound like a wonderful day. I might have to try that one day.
Oh, you should. You should get yourself an indoor layout, and then you can sit here and run trains for a whole day.
Yeah, I feel like I'm left out. You got your trains inside. Sean has his inside. I got mine inside, but they don't run very well on a shelf. But no, I think the sound library that's available on the RailPro is pretty amazing as well. I mean,
for sure.
I've always said that,
and I'll be honest. When back when I first started, I was saying, I got the Revolution and the Phoenix. I was like, wow, that's so cool, right? Now when I turn on Revolution and Phoenix, it's like, oh, can't stand that, right? The sound's just not accurate enough for me, I guess. Maybe I'm just being picky, but I still have plenty of locomotives with Revolution and Phoenix, and I'll run them. When they're running, it's fine, but you want to see those startup sounds. You want the cool horns, the bell sounds, lighting effects. That's a lot of effort to create, custom flashing circuits. Whereas with RailPro, it's just a light feature. You download, you want a strobe light or a Mars light. You download that. You can wire up one of your headlights. So if you've got a dual headlight on an engine, you can set one of them as a Mars light and the other one to come on solid, and it's so cool, right? No special circuits or different types of LEDs. You just plain old LED and get it to do anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. My argument I've made for a while was that, Revolution offers, decent sound. It's not, fine tuned, obviously. And if you're okay with the sound that Revolution offers, for what, about $100 an engine, roughly, it's not a bad value. I'm not going to start ripping Revolution out of all of my stuff, but I will say, talking to you in a little bit, I learned about RailPro. I mean, the sound, if you want to look in adding Phoenix sound, to your stuff, along with the cost of, a board, now you're up there. I think a RailPro board is, I don't know, $150 or so US, I think.
Yeah, it's about 200, almost 200, 195 or something like that up here.
Yeah. I mean, if you're starting out and going to radio control, and you don't have a bunch of stuff to change out that you already have Revolution in, I mean, I guess it just depends on what you want to do with it.
Do you know what though? I'm going to sell it to you this way.
Yeah.
If you're concerned about converting an engine, just buy a new engine. And that way you have an excuse to put a RailPro in. right? Fresh canvas. Take that old board out, factory board out, pitch it in the garbage, and then there you go.
I don't know
Well,
if you're paying attention, Andrew, but they're beating you up pretty bad in the chat about.
oh, I'm paying attention.
Okay.
I'm paying attention. It's been commented on past shows as the chat was going crazy. It was people saying, "Wow, Andrew's keeping a straight face." Yes, I would
Yeah.
never play you in a game of poker, but I can keep a straight face to an
Yeah.
extent.
See, I'm smart. I'm not looking at my phone. I'm sure it's a pile of our buddies that are just making jokes, trying to get us to laugh.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. And speaking of getting a new engine, something I did want to mention is, obviously, as we talked about before, Bachmann is doing the Dash 9 again, and we've been waiting for prices on it, and Bachmann has not released anything yet. But I did visit RLD's website the other day, and he does have pre-order pricing on there now. And let's see if I can bring this up here. Oh, that's not RLD Hobby. That's some sort of moving company.
Go to your other favorites webpage.
Yeah.
Your other favorite webpage.
Oh, like, wait a minute. This isn't a hobby shop. Let's see here.
I hate to ask what it was.
It was some moving van company. Like, I've never heard of that before. But let's see here. Let me see if I can share my webpage here.
Joseph said you can offset your cost by selling your Phoenix.
What's that?
Talking to Andrew. They're trying to talk him into RailPro. It seems like the G Skill people in the chat are trying to talk Andrew into RailPro.
Yeah, it's the right thing to do,
Maybe one day.
You've got two G40s, right?
I
The
did.
Burlington ones that you bought. There you go, fresh canvas.
Oop, what do we got going on here? Let's see. I got to reorganize this screen here. There we go. Oh, and there's an advertisement for Robbie's Spring Open House. Apparently, it's going to be 4:30 to 5:1. But what I was going to show was he does have the Dash 9s listed on his website now for pre-order, and he does have a price of $769.89 on them. So it is kind of nice to finally see a price.
Yeah, you know what? I'm surprised they actually did two of them in the Operation Life scheme, two road numbers, the Norfolk Southern ones.
Yeah,
I was hoping to see a regular NS unit, with at least the pony logo.
Yeah, that would have been nice if they had done just a standard one as well, I think.
Yeah.
But, I think, I don't like to comment too much on prices and different things, but in my estimation, I think the price kind of fell about where I figured it was going to on them. The way I look at it, I mean, they're making something that hasn't been out for quite a while. So I'm happy to see it. Now, when the release date will actually be, I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah.
But, I think it's something we've needed for a while. Then, of course, as we've said in the past, if we want to see manufacturers make other things, we have to support them in some way. So obviously this engine isn't going to be for everybody, but, I encourage the people that it is for to, get one if they can. Bachmann does a decent job on these. I mean, there's a whole catalog of things that can be produced still.
For sure. Might see some G40s or it'll be the big thing will be parts, right? I'm sure everybody's happy that, hey, we got this line out. I'll be able to buy a new pair of trucks, right? Or new gearboxes.
You have a request there, Steve. Oop, I clicked the wrong one. the stream moved up too fast on me. The
Run the
SD70.
SD70. Yeah. All right. I can turn that on for you.
While Steve is turning that on, you want to share the MGRC convention card?
Yeah. Let's see. Where did that picture go? Let's see. I had it up here a moment ago.
That way everybody gets to see it.
So let's see. Can I zoom that in a little bit? So this is going to be for, well, yeah, it's this year's convention now. We're into 2021 now.
Yep.
And I was talking to Ken Miller earlier today about that. Oh, I'll tell you what, let me come back to that in a moment if Steve's firing that up over there. Because people want to see the RailPro. There we go. Yes, I see your comment there, John, that your birthday is coming up. I really like you, but I don't -9 like you.
I don't I like it.
So it makes me think of the old Valentine's card that says "I choose you."
Oh man, that sounds good. I like that. Joseph says, blow the horn.
There's just some comments I can't show on screen.
Wow.
Can you hear us?
I gotta say, you guys in the chat have been cracking me up the whole entire show. You guys are just in the chat are so entertaining as well.
Yeah, bring these comments back when this is on Sean's channel the next time, so I can put these up for him. Sean likes getting PG-13 rated.
There you go. There's the horn. Nice. Yeah, Dunbar, you guys are entertaining. I gotta give you guys that.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
Someone was asking if you could possibly show us with the remote in front of the camera, just showing us working the remote.
Okay. I'll put it over by the other camera, and
Okay.
I'll just hit the buttons there, turning the engines on and showing some of the operation. Okay, everybody see that okay?
Yeah, he's got two cameras going, Andrew.
Let's see. Yeah, let me hang on. Let me mute. No, I got Steve's other one muted. Do you have the volume up on the phone as well, Steve, or do you got that turned down?
That's down.
Hang on a second here. All right, let's see. We got any echo now? Not quite so bad.
All right. So click on the locomotive. I've already got these two CUs MU together, right? You've got that MU button. You can click on that. And depending on the placement of your engine, you can have it set facing forward or reverse. So you click out of that. Now to turn the sound on, you go to the next page. You've got a little icon there. There's the first engine start up. Trying to get the other engine going.
Yeah, sorry guys, working on fiddling with the mics here. I do have one of Steve's muted, and we were getting a little bit of feedback from Sean, so I got that muted. So sorry about that. If you want, Sean, I can unmute you if you just want to mute and unmute yourself if you want to say something. Yeah, okay. I'm not quite sure what earballs are, but apparently gems are bothering him.
So this is where you're going to see the speeds in percentage. So you just turn the dial to run it. But if you want to run a heavy train, you can set the load. And setting it at a slow speed actually simulates realistic momentum, as opposed to an engine jumping right out the gate at 100 mile an hour. So you just turn the dial and you can change that setting, just from slow to fast. And basically when you set your power to 0, your engine will coast to a stop, as opposed to coming to a hard stop. So I love this feature. All right.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Definitely don't get that readout on Revolution, that's for sure. Sean, you're beaming like a bride on her wedding day over there. Just calm down. Very
That's
nice,
pretty
Steve.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Let me
Stop talking. But yeah, you can also check the battery charge. So I run onboard battery, and that was one of the things I cycled through to see how much power I had left in the battery. You can also check to see how much current their draw is there, and if you need to slow it down if the engine's going to get too hot. You can actually limit the amount of current that goes in to the motors. The only drawback with that is these engines all have worm gears. So if an engine does trip out, and let's say you've got throttle set at 60%, it's going at a good rate, and all of a sudden it's reading too much current, that thing comes to a grinding halt real fast, and it's like it hurts. So you can manually set the current higher. There is a procedure you go through when you read the instructions on how to set it. But I've set almost all my engines now to about 2,500 milliamps, and I haven't had the engines shut down on me. So cool features.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, you've done other customizations besides what we've seen so far.
Yeah.
before
You
before we get to that, Sean, I wanted to jump back to show the show car since
yeah, okay, that's
we
cool.
had that up a moment ago. Which I guess a question for everybody involved at the moment. Do you mind going a little bit longer tonight, Steve and Sean? If we still
Yeah,
have
I don't care. I got time.
Yeah, it's fine. I want to cover this one other thing where you know where I'm heading at now. But go ahead and let's show the show card.
Yeah, I just know we kind of had a lot of different things we covered tonight, and if there's something I'm forgetting that we were going to cover, someone remind
Bearings.
me. But yeah, is
Yeah.
that where you were going, Sean? Okay.
Yes, that's where I was going. Yeah.
Okay. So obviously this is the show car for the 2021 National Garden Railway Convention. Now, give me a second here to find my message I got from Ken Miller, which, by the way, Ken will be our guest on the next show in 2 weeks coming up. Let's see here. So the one thing Ken was telling me is about the orders for the cars. Let's see. I apologize, everybody. I just like with any best made plans, things come up and I didn't get a chance to have everything organized like I wanted.
You're never organized. Who you kidding?
This is like this is going to be like how The Simpsons was. Remember when Simpsons started on what was that girl's show? And the end was crappy, but people loved it. Tracy Ullman show.
Tracy Ullman, yeah.
This is what your show's like right now. In a few years, you'll have more money for better animators, big production.
Sean and I will be better animated.
Yeah.
Better animated.
And then after 50 million seasons, we'll have to start rewriting the history of it because we've been on so long.
Yeah.
So let's see. Ken sent that to me. That's the updated car. He wanted to remind everyone orders have to be in by February 22nd for the show cars. They have to have 150 orders, or 150 orders of them to place with USA Trains, who's doing the car. So if you want to show car, please make sure you check out their website. I believe I should still have a link in the description. If not, I will put it in there. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty nice car. I mean, I want to say you're Mr. USA, Sean. When did they introduce the flat car with the tank on it like that?
That was maybe about 3 years ago. They started doing that.
Yeah, it's pretty recent.
The other thing I was going to say is Ken wanted to remind everyone that made reservations with the Opryland Gaylord Resort last year, because the show obviously got postponed, canceled last year. You do have to call the resort or go online to rebook. Don't just expect that your reservation carried over from last year to this year. But like I said, we'll be having Ken on the next show to talk more about the convention, what's planned for it, and all that type of good stuff. So I just wanted to get that up there for Ken, so it was up there because convention's kind of a big thing for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's a nice car.
Yeah.
While we're at custom run, so the next batch of S4s from USA Trains is coming, and I've got here a test piece from Winona Garden Railway received this. So John let me borrow this. I just want to show you. These will be out shortly. I guess they're
USA
on shipping
USA's
containers on their way over. Yeah, but John had about 100 custom engines of the same road number. Same idea as the custom car you had there. So seems to be the only way to get Canadian content these days. So if anybody's interested, go on to the Winona Garden Railway website and put an order in.
Very nice.
Yeah, I think it's gorgeous.
Let's see here. So Sean wanted to talk about the upgrade you did to your SD40-2.
Yeah, so tell us all about you did some kind of special upgrade to USA Trains SD40-2.
Yeah.
So tell us what you did.
So I noticed, or a bunch of us seem to have noticed that these little bearing blocks that they have, so I think it's a geometry issue, whether they're not drilled centerly, but they seem to wear out. I've got one here that I popped out, and you can almost see that it's worn into an egg shape. I don't know if that picks it up. So, and they're kind of a pain in the butt to have to change out all the time. So I thought to myself, and I've heard about other people doing it, is putting roller bearings in. So I basically took some measurements off what was on the existing plates that they used, and I basically milled out some aluminum blocks, right, including grooves for the springs, and then the bolt holes to mount it to the side frames. And then I bought a bunch of these 3mm ID, 8mm OD roller bearings, and I've got them inside, and then I used some automatic transmission fluid, put a little bit of lube on there to oil them. And I'll just grab the engine, just so you guys can see how it sits in there.
Yeah.
So this is one of my SD40s. right? So I made sure there was going to be enough room. I didn't want to drill into the existing plates because I didn't think there was not enough plastic to hold the bearing in, and I didn't want it failing on me. So my go-to is, well, build it big, build it strong, and it'll last a long time, right? So that's my mentality. So
I was looking here. I thought I had some close-up pictures of the bearings. Let's see here.
You got them in there somewhere.
Yeah, I downloaded a whole ton of pictures that. Oh, there we go. I put them in their own folder. I was slightly thinking ahead. It happens every now and then.
So is that the only SD40 you've done that conversion on so far?
yeah, I actually did two of John engines as well. He put SD70 trucks on his SD40s. And he let me borrow them, play with them for a while. It's like, well, I'm going to throw bearings in these. So I got carried away with that. But yeah, I have enough to do, I think, two more engines, and then I'll have to make some more blanks. That's the real boring part, eh? When it comes to machining, you're just sitting there making cuts, sitting, oh, when am I going to be done? Yeah.
So
there's what I started with, right? I had cut up some blanks, and then once I did all my measurements, I plotted what I was going to do. And basically, when you're into machining, everything's a step, right? And how are you going to make all the parts the same? So you tend to make a jig or base your measurements off of one side of the, or one or two sides of your workpiece, right? So, yeah, so there's the mill running. I was just cleaning up the sides, getting them all to their final outside dimension. So the nice thing about aluminum is it's soft but strong. So you're not going to add a whole lot of weight to the engine. And also when it comes to machining, it's going to be a little bit easier on your cutters.
Kyle was asking, where did you get those bearings from?
Amazon. I just did a search for 3mm ID bearings, and then you got to really check, because sometimes they'll advertise something on the face page, and by the time you click on it, it might be a different size. So yeah, I was specific. I wanted 3mm ID by 8mm OD. I've got some smaller ones. I bought some 6mm ones. So I'm going to experiment with some of my rolling stock. I'm probably going to put some roller bearings in them as well in the future.
Dunbar
this video here's.
Dunbar was saying, order yours today, only $19.99, but wait, call within the next 30 minutes and get a second set free.
And also said, please allow 4 to 6 weeks for delivery.
Yeah.
You would think when I was a machinist for 16 years, I would have a milling machine to do things like this, but I don't.
Yeah, this is something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I had so many engines. Like when I had Dash 9s, I had a whole pile of them that I lowered as well. That was a lot of work. And I never quite got to the SD40s, right? And I replaced the side frames once, and it's like, well, these wore out rather quickly. So that's like, well, before I run them too much, let me make some bearing blocks. Buy now, we'll ship you 87 more for free. Yeah. That's awesome.
But let's see here.
So it's a fun project.
I don't know if I had this picture up there before or not for a close-up of the after you've pressed the bearings in there. Now, maybe I'm missing it, but what were the pockets that you cut in the top for, Steve?
They're for the springs. So on the back of the
okay.
Yeah. It's not much of a suspension, but actually when I machined these, I built in a little bit of clearance so that you can actually get the engines to bounce a little bit. I always like, you ever see rail trains go over a set of diamonds? They get that little bounce in them. Yeah. I was trying to recreate that, but it's not really the same. But I'm glad the engine has a bit better suspension now than what it used to.
So in all, just say this one block right here. How long did it take you to machine that one block?
That one block.
Yeah.
Well, if you cut the blank to roughly the right size and square it up, you're probably looking at 10 minutes there. The time you plot and bore the bearing bore, probably another 5 minutes there. Spring slots, there's probably another 10, 15 minutes there. And then the screw holes, yeah, another 10, 20 minutes, 10, probably maybe an hour a block, I would say, right from start to finish. But like, because I wanted to do a production of them, so I wanted to make all the blanks first and then do each step, right? Like I said, talked about earlier, I would finish the blocks and then set up my mill, and then I would do all the bearing bores, right? Once all the bearing bores are done, I'd do this one screw hole, do them all, and then set up to do the other one, right? So they're all exactly the same.
So I see now that I see them mounted on there, that I see the springs in there. I see what you were talking about now for clearance on those. That's pretty impressive, Steve.
Yeah, and you know what? The guys with track power easily adapt, right? Like the little washers that you see on the regular bushings, these things here, right? You could easily drill and tap into the side of a block, right? You can take that and mount it onto the side, right, with a screw, and you'd still have a power pickup, right?
Yeah. I would imagine as long as you don't get, which I don't know with bearings that small, as long as you don't get any that have ceramic balls in them, which would end up insulating it. So I guess just make sure you don't get
for sure.
ceramic ball bearings. But and I thought I had a picture. Yeah, here we go. I got a close-up picture from the bottom that you did. Let's see. There we go. Now, one thing I was going to ask you when I was looking at this was, did you give any thought to doing any modification to removing the floppy axle and doing another fixed axle? Or
I thought about it, but you know what? I don't mind the floppy. When I had my old layout, I had a couple spots where I purposely had the track doing a little dance, right? Because I like to see the cars rocking back and forth. And I found that with the Aristo stuff, it would derail a lot easier than these floppy front end 6-axle from USA. So these are, and they're great pullers. Now these still have the traction tires. I got one that's missing, but we'll put another one on and wait for an order from USA Trains to get the solid axles.
I have to look away from the chat because my poker face is going to start showing, and I just have to say, you guys are very, very terrible in the chat tonight. You should be ashamed of yourselves.
For shame. That's awesome.
No, that's really impressive what you did there, Steve. I thought about the concept of doing, ball bearings to replace those sleeve bearings, but I never gave any thought to actually doing a whole bearing block like you did. I mean, that's pretty heavy duty. Now, have you looked at all into doing anything with the inner bearings that are inside the block?
No, I haven't gone that far yet. I know there's the SD40s are a little bit sloppier than the SD70s, but I find that the just these side frame ones help hold things a little bit more central, which I think also contributed to the wear with the old style of bushings.
Yeah.
But going back to the floppy axle, I kind of wish USA Trains did make the side frame upright, just like the real HTC steering trucks. That would have been cool.
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm just still kind of in awe what you did there. That's pretty impressive. And And I think, in all honesty, the sleeve bearings, the ones in the side frames, wore out way faster than the ones inside the truck because they were a lot
They
thinner in the
do.
side frames, weren't they?
Yeah.
Because I know, Sean, you actually had older videos on your channel detailing the motor blocks on those, and did you say something in there about rotating the bearings or something so that they would wear on the other side?
Well, what I mentioned in my videos is there's a difference in how the brass bushings or the bronze bushings inside the motor blocks are orientated. So you got these square bushings that
Mm.
are that slide into slots on
Yeah.
those motor block housings. Now on the 3-axle trucks, you do not put them in with the flat towards the bottom. You put them in as a diamond.
As a diamond, that's right.
Okay, and then your 2-axle motor blocks are put in as a square. So that there's a difference on how they're assembled. Now, I will mention that when I did talk to USA Trains in 2019 at the East Coast Large Scale Train Show, Mike, who runs the parts department, had told me at that point in time that they were re-engineering their motor blocks, but of course there was no time period as to when they were going to come back out with the re-engineered SD40 motor blocks. But I just want to also mention the funny part about that USA Trains design that so many people either like or don't. They actually got the idea for that design off of early line-out O-gauge TMCC locomotives because they basically had that same exact floppy axle design on.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Is there anything that we forgot to go over tonight? I'm trying to remember.
Some people are already going to bed from our reading in the chat.
Oh yeah, bored. We bored them to death.
I tell you, if they're going to bed, it's not showing because we got like 44, 45 people watching, which has been pretty consistent from the beginning. I guess we got to have Steve on more often. He draws the crowd.
Yeah.
Well,
for anybody tearing apart the USA Trains motor blocks, yes, I have older videos on showing how to do that and how to orientate the bushings properly, depending on whether you're doing a 2-axle motor block or 3-axle. I actually show rebuilding the motor blocks as well, replacing idler gears. I basically tear a 3-axle motor block down to nothing, pulling the motor out and everything, and showing how to reassemble the whole thing.
nice.
Very nice.
Good tips.
I was just looking here real quick at my notes from the show just to make sure there wasn't something I forgot that I was supposed to. Oh, there is something I wanted to mention. Another channel, which is the Columbus Garden Railway Society, has actually started doing their own show on Wednesdays, Workbench Wednesdays. It's a live show, kind of similar to ours. They're dealing with a lot more of like the basics, beginner stuff for garden railroading and that, different types of track, transformers, anything if you're getting started out. So they're doing a very nice series on that. So if you look up the Columbus Garden Railway Society on YouTube for their show, I just wanted to give them a little bit of a plug for that because they are doing a very nice series on their channel. And if anybody that's getting started out, or even people that have been in it for a while, you might learn something that you didn't know before. So
and apparently they got the idea of a live show from watching ours, Andrew.
I want to say, trying to think. I think we might have been a little bit inspirational in it. I'm not 100% sure. I know I talked to Jed that does the show, and I know we talked back and forth a little bit about StreamYards that we use for our show and that, and if we did indeed, influence them, I'm excited about that. I can once in my lifetime an influencer, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And before we go, I'm sure everybody's been keeping an eye on the East Coast Large Scale Train Show updates on Facebook and on our website. So, I'm keeping my fingers crossed that the show does continue on. They made. I'll let you guys read the update news on that. But you know, I don't think I can go another year without a train show. I don't think
Yeah,
I'll make it.
I think we're all hurting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they haven't made anything further. I think their last update was towards the end of February. They would have something more definitive, I guess.
yeah. So I'm hoping for some good news because the train shows around my area have been canceled up until April.
But,
So
All right. I can tell we're winding down. Even we still got 43 people watching. I'm quite impressed. Everybody tuned in tonight.
for the
Um,
fans.
yeah, I think it's you, Steve. You got all kinds of groupies that follow you around or something. So,
Well,
someone asked.
I gotta have to check the chat after this is over. I'll get a good laugh for sure.
yeah, well, the chat takes a little bit before it'll show up in replay. We have found that out. You'll be able to watch the video, but I think there's a delay on when the chat shows up, right, Andrew?
Yeah, the chat I think takes a little bit to the live
Load
chat
up.
to go in there. So I think YouTube has to do some sort of processing for it to play back.
Oh yeah.
Um, but well, my brain's going blank. It's been a long day. Is there anything you wanted to leave us with, Steve, or anything?
Oh, good words of wisdom.
Sure.
Um, you know, like anything you do for the first time, it's always scary, and you're gonna screw up. I know I've screwed up loads of times. Hell, when I was doing these bearing blocks, I wasn't paying attention and I actually did a small number of them where I drilled a counter bore on the wrong side of the block, and I was like, "Oh crap, this piece is scrap now." Don't let that sway you from keeping on, right? Because once you figure it out, boom, next thing you know, you're learning more things. I don't know what else to say. Other than I love the hobby, and you know, I love how everybody has a different approach. Whether they're 3D printing, that's something I want to look into eventually, or running more live steam, scratch building projects with styrene. It's all things I want to look into, you know, and it's just time, a little bit of time. And I just want to thank you guys for having me on the show. It's been a really great opportunity. I love sharing my stuff with you. Hope to be on a future episode, maybe, and show some other cool stuff in the future.
Absolutely. I look forward to seeing everything you do, Steve. And by all means, you're part of the Facebook group now. So I mean, if you got things you're working on in that, post them in there. I do have a link to that in the description now. So if anybody has any questions for Sean and I or Steve, anything about the show tonight, question you're getting answered, feel free to go and join the Facebook group and drop it in there.
Yeah.
It'll there's always things we don't have time to get to, so hopefully that'll help some with that. But of course, our next show will be in 2 weeks, and we'll have Ken Miller from the Nashville Garden Railway Society on to talk about the upcoming convention, what's planned for it. We may see a little bit of his layout and hear some about some of the things that are involved in putting on such a spectacle as the National Garden Railway Convention. So with that, I say good night to everybody. stay safe, and we'll see you guys again in 2 weeks.
All right.
Yep. We'll see you guys around.
Good night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.